Hey, welcome to Wingchair Books. I'm your host, Michael Philippone. I'm going to read a segment from Jonathan Baumbach's novel in short fiction pieces. It's called Reruns, published in 1974 by Fiction Collective 2. It's the inaugural release from the press, FC2, and I'm having a lot of fun with it right now. I'm about a third of the way through, and I'm going to read you a part. I'm reading from page 25, and the chapter is called Seventh Night. Every single chapter is sequential from first night through 33rd night. So this is the seventh night. It's page 25, and enjoy. My first wife, my first of 3 wives, confessed one night that there were 12 men in her life before she met me, though she could only at the present moment remember the names of 11. One night in bed, I made the mistake of asking her about former lovers. I told her of my brief entanglement with Lenny's sister, Sybil. She started with apparent reluctance. When I was 9, 9? Perhaps 8.5, a dwarf came to the house, a business associate of my father's, and did something to me between the legs with a ballpoint pen. They were new then and unreliable. A dwarf? A very short man, under 5 feet, with a mustache. I always think of him as a dwarf. In some ways he was very tender, in some ways obscene and awful. I suggested we talk about something else, or screw, or go to the movies. Once she started to tell, she said, she couldn't live with herself unless it all came out. All? All. Her confession lasts 3 days and 3 nights, during which time I take a break and go down to the schoolyard to shoot baskets. My touch on this occasion is dazzling. Everything I throw up goes in. Hook shots, jump shots, one-handed pop shots, two-handed set shots, backhanded layups. At one point I hit 26 consecutive baskets from beyond the circle. A crowd gathers to watch. There are ahs of admiration, which I play to, though pretend to ignore. Who is he? I hear someone ask. He looks familiar. Don't you know who he is? I recognize him from the first moment he stepped foot on the court. I know who he reminds me of. He reminds me of George Yardley with that hair, only shorter. The man you're watching out there is one of the all-time greats. His name happens to be... I stop to listen. The name is mumbled incoherently. Boomhart, it sounds like, though there's never been a player named Boomhart. When the touch is right, the ball seems to float from my hands, as if guided by invisible wires, no string required. I miss a few and move closer in. There are groans from the crowd. The ball leaden in my hands, an alien object. I try an ordinary layup to restore my touch. The shot, though aimed right, slips off the rim. The spectators turn surly. It gets so I can feel their animosity. I am pelted with fruit. Go home, you bum! Someone shouts. A small, fat man with a pencil-lined mustache. When I miss another, a 25-foot hook off the blackboard, my specialty, he duck-walks onto the court and challenges me to a game. One-on-one? Nah, he says, loosening his pants at the crotch. I don't dribble. We match shots. What's the matter? You afraid? I can feel my touch return, fingers tingling. With exceeding grace, I throw a hook shot from 30 feet out. Your turn. I hand him the ball. Nah, I wasn't ready. A new man comes on the court and you won't even give him a couple warm-ups? Is that your idea of what's fair? He waves to the crowd, bows ironically, is cheered. I keep my hands in my pockets as he warms up. He has one shot, an underhand heave, which he takes with his right foot a step in front of his left. I'm out of practice, he says, throwing the first one over the backboard. When I was younger, I used to be a whiz. You look in my jacket, you see I got 6, 7 letters extolling my virtues. He handles the basketball like a guy who has never played the game before in his life. After an hour of misses, he makes one and, loosening his tie, announces that he is ready. Stationing himself at the foul line, right foot slightly in front of the left, he heaves the ball up. It bangs in off the backboard. The crowd cheers, stamps their feet. You got to do it exactly like I did it, he says. The clown is inimitable. I take an underhand foul shot which hangs on the front of the rim and drops off. Too bad, he says, clapping his hands. Even if it went in, it wouldn't have counted. You gotta shoot it exactly or it don't count. 1-0. I don't expect him to repeat his accident, but he does, this time without the backboard, grunting as he heaves the ball in. The crowd laughs. At me or him. as I plant my feet in imitation of my opponent. Grunting, a fair imitation, I think, of his grunt, I throw up the shot. It hits the back rim, bounces off the backboard, and drops through the hoop. "You didn't do it right," he says. 2-0. "What do you mean I didn't do it right? You're full of shit." I think of pushing the basketball into his face, though restrain impulse to violence. "I wouldn't have played with you if I knew you was going to assassinate my character," he says to the audience, his arms out in appeal. "Ask the people. I'm a man believes in the rules. No one's gonna say Patsy Spongini is not a good guy. To show you what kind of good guy I am, I let you take the shot over. Is that fair or not? I ask you, am I being fair? I came to this country a poor immigrant who never seen a basketball before." "What did I do wrong?" "You didn't do it right. That's what you did wrong." He demonstrates his impossibly clumsy shot, right foot in front of left, stomach out, knees locked. I pencil a mustache under my nose and assume the stance. "This right?" I ask before risking the shot. "Nah, you don't have it." I make minor adjustments, put a pillow under my coat to simulate his belly. "Now?" "Just go ahead and shoot. I believe in giving a fair shake to all of the people." The crowd applauds as I heave the ball despairingly over the backboard. He slaps me on the back, squeezes my arm. "You're getting the hang of it, believe me. You can't expect to be an expert on that shot overnight." I don't know how long she's been there, but when I turn I see my wife standing shyly, her back to me, at the far end of the schoolyard. The score is 4-2 against me. I'm coming back. The momentum has shifted. When I make a shot, other than his underhand heave, Spongini grudgingly concedes to the point, rather than attempt the shot himself. "Hey," he says, interrupting my concentration. I am positioned for a two-handed set from 40 feet out. "There's some hot-looking broad over there, waving her finger at you." I went over to see what Hannah wanted. "We're out of milk, Jack," she said. "When I was like 12, I went to this summer camp, and this boy Richard Hertz, who was nature counselor, asked me if I had ever seen a boa constrictor before. So..." Out of the corner of my eye, I noticed my opponent Spongini injecting something into the skin of the ball. Running back to the court. Running back. Spongini smiling, holding the ball behind him. "Please come home," Hannah called. I held up 10 fingers, indicating 10 minutes. When I got the ball back, it was a little soft and a half ounce to the touch heavier. Spongini handing it to me with a shitting grin underlying his pencil mustache. "Go ahead," he said. "And before you say anything, remember it's a poor workman who blames his tools, am I right?" I balanced the ball in my hands, pretending it was all right. When I bounced it, it kissed the pavement. "Do you know that broad you were talking to?" I was non-committal. "Do you know her, Spongini?" "Do I know her?" he said, winking. "All the guys know her. What I'm saying is, there are some people you know, and some people you don't know. You know what I mean?" "I'll be right back," I said, looking around the schoolyard for Hannah. If you leave, you lose automatically. Schoolyard rules." I punched him as hard as I could in the lower stomach and went home, stopping off first at Gleber's Bros for a quart of milk. Hannah was waiting for me in bed, naked under one of my shirts, the remainder of her story on her lips. Putting the milk in the refrigerator, taking some Oreos, 2 for me, 1 for Hannah, I sat down to listen. That was Seventh Night from Jonathan Baumbach's Reruns from Fiction Collective 2. Have fun.